All right, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are wrapping up another elite recruiting class in the 2025 cycle. A lot going on today. It hasn't been a perfect day for Georgia. I'm going to be breaking that down in this video, but it looks like Georgia has secured at least a top 2 recruiting class in the country. One of the best classes in Kirby Smart's time at Georgia. I'll be breaking it all down, but I want to first start off with the running back commitment they lost. Ousmane Kroma flipping from Georgia to Florida State. That was kind of the bad news. They haven't really brought in any new commitments. Of course, Georgia's class has been basically wrapped up. They're still waiting on 5-star defensive lineman Justice Terry, who will be announcing on Friday. Still like Georgia's chances there, although Auburn is coming on strong. They're trying to flip him, but I think Georgia's still in a really good position there. But this morning, things were going very, very well according to plan. Georgia's commitments were signing. They held off the Florida Gators for Ryan Montgomery. I'm going to talk about that in a second. That's Georgia's 4-star quarterback commit. And then Michigan came on really strong, trying to flip 5-star edge Isaiah Gibson, the #1 edge defender in the country. He stuck with Georgia. So, through lunch, things were looking really good, and Georgia had some targets coming off the board. Jeremiah McLeod at Lee County, a current Florida commitment who's now signing with Florida. He did not flip to Georgia. I was told that if he had the green light to do so, that there was a good chance he would end up in Georgia's class. He obviously did not. He stuck with Florida. Soon after that, Kevin Wynn, a 4-star defensive tackle from Greene County, really productive, powerful interior defensive lineman that was on Georgia's board. He was actually in Athens for that Georgia Tech game, but he stuck with his commitment to Florida State. And then right around that time, Ousmane Kroma, again, a big, strong, powerful running back that I really like out of Lee County. He flipped to Florida State, which was a little interesting because a few days ago I reached out to sources down there and everything was fine. He was set to commit to Georgia. He was happy, excited to be a future Bulldog, but Florida State and Auburn were teams that were, in the mix throughout his recruitment. He chose Georgia originally over Auburn and Florida State. But in the end, Florida State found enough funds to, come to it last minute and say, hey, we need you. Yeah, we're 10-2. We're a joke of a program. We're a dumpster fire right now. We got to get some help. What can you do? We need you bad. And, whatever they said ended up working out. So they got Ousmane Kroma. Georgia only has 1 running back commitment right now, 3-star Bo Walker. But that's fine, right? That's a position they can go and get someone out of the portal. So it's not the end of the day. And again, they signed 3 running backs in the last cycle. So it's understandably, known that, if you're a running back looking at Georgia, they've got a lot of talented young kids. So I get it, but still that one kind of stings. He was a really good running back. But overall, when you look at this class in a few years, you're going to remember the pass catchers, the front 7, and how homegrown this class is. I'm about to finish a story over on Dawg talking about how important it was for this Georgia staff to, get after the state of Georgia and lock that down as much as possible. And, in an era of college football where kids are transferring left and right, and you're trying to do everything you can to re-recruit and keep your players, it's easier when they're homegrown kids who love Georgia. And I've made this example before, but, the secondary is taking a big step backwards, and I think partly because they're missing Kamari Laster and Javon Bullard from last year. Those were 2 in-state guys, Kamari Laster from the Savannah area, Javon Bullard from Milledgeville. Those kids loved Georgia. They loved playing for that G on the helmet. They played with pride. They played with passion, fire, energy. You could see that they loved that school and that program by the way they played. And you just don't see it when Julian Humphrey was out there. And, I don't want to say that about Dalen Everett, but he's not an in-state kid. I don't think he has the same love for Georgia as they do. Malachi Starks does, Dan Jackson does, but Daniel Harris doesn't, So I think, the staff said, we're going to attack and get the best players in our state and keep them around for as much as possible. We don't want to live in the transfer portal. And if we're bringing in so many out-of-state kids that don't have that love and that fire and that passion and energy for the Georgia program, maybe it's best to find a guy in-state who will give everything they have for the program and stick around a little bit longer. So especially in a class where it was loaded with defensive linemen, right? Elijah Griffin, #1 defensive lineman in the country, stayed in state with Georgia. I think Justice Terry, bearing any crazy, NIL opportunities coming his way from Auburn, I think he is going to sign with Georgia. They got a promising 3-star J.J. Han from California, who's from Germany, so he's a promising kid. But Zayden Walker, 5-star inside linebacker. he's committed. Anthony Crua, 3-star linebacker from Marietta, he's on board. Isaiah Gibson, 5-star edge from Warner Robins is on board, right? Chase Linton, a 4-star edge out of North Atlanta is on board. So they really did a great job in the state. In the secondary, Rashawn Dinkins, defensive back from Warner Robins is on board. Jonte Gilbert, a 4-star defensive back from Douglas in the Atlanta area, he's on board. Todd Robinson, who has not signed yet, he's one of, I think, 3 guys at this moment, as I'm making this video, has not signed. It's Hezekiah Melinder, the quarterback at Clark Central. He is committed but has not yet signed. Todd Robinson, a 4-star athlete, defensive back out of Valdosta. He's still committed but has not signed. And I think there's one more. Talon Taylor, the elite wide receiver from Illinois, he has signed, is on board. But I'm thinking, Jalen Morgan, a 4-star safety from Tennessee, has not signed yet as I'm talking right now. So we're still waiting on 3 guys. Everyone else signed, sealed, kind of delivered. I think Georgia's sitting at 27. Maybe a little less than that right now, but in-state, they did a great job of identifying and getting after the in-state kids. 5 offensive linemen, all of them from the Peach State. They're only running back from the Peach State. One of their quarterbacks, both of their tight ends are from the Peach State, and they've got a couple pass catchers as well. But I want to talk about those pass catchers real quick because they have some game changers. And when you're looking at this Georgia roster currently right now, they're missing those alphas, right? Those killers, those game changers at wide receiver. And I think they've got at least 2 of them coming in. And Talon Taylor out of, I believe it's the Chicago area. He's from Illinois. But electric, shifty, explosive, sure-handed wide receiver who gets open consistently. Great route runner, big-time playmaker. One of the best wide receivers in the country. He's on board. C.J. Wiley, 4-star from Milton. Size, speed, potential. He's a really, really good player. They've got Landon Roldan, who brings elite speed. He's a nearby local kid from North Oconee. Thomas Blackshear, who's basically a running back / wide receiver. I think he's a machine in the screen game. He's a running back out on the perimeter. He can also stretch the field, but tough, dangerous runner after the catch. Real physical receiver who's, great. He's tough to bring down. I really like his game. And then Tyler Williams is an underrated 4-star receiver from Florida that I don't think Georgia fans know a lot about, but doesn't get a ton of targets, which boggles my mind. But when the ball goes his way, big things happen. And then the tight ends, Elias Williams, Elias Williams. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. Blanket. It's one of the two. And Ethan Barbour out of Milton, 2 of the best tight ends in America, are both on the commit list. They are both weapons in the pass game. They're mismatches in the middle of the field. Both of those guys are going to catch a lot of passes at Georgia. So they've got the pass catchers. They've got guys who can make plays catching the football. And then the front 7 might be the best that Kirby's brought in between the defensive linemen and the guys on the edge and even at linebacker. A lot of in-state guys, a lot of elite, talented game changers. Elijah Griffin, again, top 10 player in the country. Isaiah Gibson, I think he's a top 12 prospect in the country, depending on what outlet you're looking at. Darren Ikenagbin out of New Jersey. The staff thinks that he could be the next Michael Williams. Hasn't been playing football for a long time, but he's a promising, long, athletic edge defender who can get after the quarterback. And a lot of these guys can get after the quarterback. And again, if they land Justice Terry, the number 2 defensive lineman, to go with the number 1 defensive lineman and the number 1 edge defender and the number 1, I think, still linebacker, Zayden Walker, you're talking about a game-wrecking crew there. So at the end of the day, they loaded up with in-state offensive linemen. Love the receiver group and the tight ends they brought in. They've got a couple quarterbacks, one of them a big reward, low risk, and the local kid, Hezekiah Melinder. If that guy turns into something under Mike Bobo, that would be something to keep an eye on, and he might be the steal of this class. He is a promising passer. There's a lot to like about his game, but he's just got to keep developing as a quarterback. But he's got the physical traits, and he can move. They love his ability to run the football. So a lot going on. This is a very, very good class. And it wasn't the best day. I thought they'd land one of the defensive linemen, whether it was Jeremiah McLeod, who stuck with Florida, or Kevin Wynn, who stayed with Florida State. I thought they'd get one of those. And going into today, I heard there was some chatter about Chroma looking elsewhere at Auburn and Florida State. But I thought I had heard enough, the couple days prior to think that, okay, I think Georgia's safe there. But he's a really good running back, headed to Florida State. So not great news there. But other than that, there's still guys out there left to be signed. I think other schools are working on some prospects. I don't really do the whole class rankings type of deal. I just think you go get your guys. You get the guys at the top of your board, no matter where recruiting sites rank them, because they don't know as much as the college coaches do. So if the college coaches, if you go out and get your guys, there's not much else you can complain about, no matter where you are ranked, on these other outlets. So a lot of these guys are going to transfer anyway. So more and more, these recruiting classes, yeah, they're fun and they're cool and they're important, right? You build your program through high school recruiting, not the portal. That's not the way you still win championships. You do it by recruiting, developing your own guys, and keeping them around for a while. That's how you build a cohesive offense and defense, a cohesive team, is you keep guys around longer and longer. And I think they're going to do that with all these in-state guys that they're bringing in. So they loaded up with Peach State kids, a lot of pass catchers, some elite front seven defenders, and a lot of other really nice pieces too. So overall, still a big 5-star target out there. We'll see what Justice Terry does on Friday. I still like Georgia's chances there, but another elite recruiting class. Maybe it gets bumped up to number 1. I don't think it really matters. It's a very, very strong class, and one that I think might, bring Georgia a championship if everything comes together the way the staff thinks it will. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. You can read all about this over on Dawg Post. So I'll see you over on the website. Thanks for watching.